is Twilight time. Of course, this is a series started by Stephanie Meyer back in 2005. And it became a huge hit, especially after it got turned into a movie in 2008, okay? This thing was everywhere. And while I may have been a bit below the target demographic of Twilight in 2008, that thing was everywhere. All the girls in school were reading it, everyone was seeing the movies, talking about the movies. You had Team Jacob, you had Team Edward. See, I never really got into Twilight because, of course, it was a girl thing. It was a girly book for girls, and, you know, I was like a preteen. Girls were stupid, and I didn't like them. And so I did not like Twilight. The discourse around Twilight, looking back at it, was kind of annoying, kind of cringe. You know, while Twilight had these crazy, obsessive, annoying fans, it also had a lot of haters who were, you know, going on about, oh, they made vampires lame. Oh, look at them sparkle. What is this? Well, what is this, love? Ugh. But a lot of the times, those people, which probably included myself at that point, you know, had not read or watched Twilight. And you know, those things don't really make Twilight bad. Now, Twilight is very bad, don't get me wrong, but, you know, I just think a lot of the hate back then was, you know, cringe, overblown, yeah. In fact, I think the movies were quite underappreciated at the time for just how entertainingly bad they were. And this is not something I realized until high school when, you know, I finally sat down with my friends and watched them all the way through. And this saga, man, is absolutely one of my favorites. I have watched the Twilight films so many times, and not once has it made me think, oh, these movies are actually kind of good. No, but you know, there are a lot of things I appreciate about Twilight. Often, you know, things that were unintentionally funny, a lot of story decisions that make me go, oh my god, how is this even possible? Why would you think of this? Why would they let you publish it? But it all brings us to today, where I actually have a pretty positive relationship with the Twilight franchise, I would say. Though my entire perception of it is only based off the movies. And you know, I'm in sort of the same position as most of my friends in my book club, so we decided, hey, why not? Why don't we give Twilight a shot? So that's exactly what we did. And this book was interesting. As a book club, you know, we split our readings into sections. We split Twilight into 3 distinct sections. And I found that while all 3 of these sections were bad, which was to be expected, they were all bad in very different ways. So let's get into this and figure out what's going on here. And, you know, I know Twilight is a book that a lot of people remember fondly from their childhoods, maybe even still enjoy now. Listen, all the power to you. I fully understand why someone might like a book like this. So I'm not here to be a hater, okay? I fully support the Twilight fandom, but the book is kind of terrible. Let's get into that. So for those who are completely unaware, I'm sure there are some people who don't know a thing about Twilight. It's about a teenage girl named Bella who lives with her mom in Phoenix, Arizona. She moves to live with her father in Forks, Washington, which is a real place. It's a small town. It's very gloomy. The sun almost never shines. And she's very depressed because she did not want to move to Forks. You know, she doesn't really connect with all of these kids here. Pretty much every guy in the school has a crush on her, but, you know, she's completely oblivious to it because the boy who catches her eye is Edward Cullen, a very mysterious, sexy vampire. Him and his vampire family, you know, also attend this school. Of course, people don't know they're vampires, but yes, they are vampires. That's why they live in Forks, because, you know, they can walk around during the day because it's always foggy, always cloudy. And they are good vampires in that they don't kill humans for blood. They are what they call vegetarians and only hunt animals. Bella and Edward are like immediately taken aback by each other. They are like obsessed from the first glance. It's actually kind of like it's a bit much. So they start hanging out. She starts to realize that, you know, some things are a bit different about Edward. And with an incredibly strong nudge from her family friend Jacob, who of course also likes Bella, she comes to the conclusion that, oh my god, Edward is like an actual vampire. But she doesn't care, because she thinks it's hot that he can, like, crush her face in an instant. Now, this first part of Twilight is honestly awesome. Like, it's not particularly well written, but the vibes of this small foggy town, you know, entering a new place, meeting all these mysterious people, it's kind of addicting, you know? Bella is not a good character. She's kind of an asshole. But I don't know, something about the breakneck pace of this, maybe like it's also nostalgia factoring in, where I just find a lot of these scenes, you know, humorously iconic. I was having a kind of a fun time reading Twilight, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. But once Bella and Edward start dating, the book changes a bit. Here is when, like, we get into some of the worst romance dialogue I have ever read, making Attack of the Clones look like William Shakespeare. You all know the quotes, "Oh, do I dazzle you? The lamb falling in love with the lion." Bella's big revelation that she is unconditionally and irrevocably in love with Edward. Not only has she only known him for a week, but that is not something a human being would ever say, let alone a 17-year-old girl. It also gets really creepy. I mean, there's the obvious fact that Edward is like 109 dating a 17-year-old. Like, physically, he is 17, but, you know, it's just a bit weird. And, you know, that's something that you deal with throughout the whole series, so... yeah. But, like, he also watches her sleep. Like, even before they were dating, he would sneak into her room and watch her sleep, and he tells her this, and she's like, "Oh my god, that's so hot. Please do it more." Bella is definitely a blank slate character, and I do think that that is by design. You know, the whole thing about Twilight here is, you know, escapism, wish fulfillment. You know, oh, big sexy vampire comes in, sweeps you off your feet. It's all mysterious and whatever. But, like, I get it. But, you know, that doesn't really change the fact that it's kind of brutal to read. She becomes so dependent on Edward. It is absolutely agonizing. To the point where if he's, like, away for a day, she's, like, literally having panic attacks. Like, she cannot deal she cannot deal with it. It's much worse in New Moon, but, you know, it is present here too, and it's quite unbearable. We also meet the other Cullens here, and, you know, I've always found the world building to be a bit shaky here. How they would, you know, go from town to town, enroll the, you know, younger looking vampires in high school and graduate them, and then they would move to another town. And, like, the leader, Carlisle, always gets, like, a job as a doctor, because that's what he does. But I feel like people gotta be catching on by this point. Like, come on, man, this is the 21st century. This ain't What We Do in the Shadows, okay? These guys don't have the power to, like, hypnotize people. It's just something that always bugged me. And, like, also, why don't they just stay in Forks? They got a banger house here, you know? It's all cloudy and foggy. Like, why even move? Just live in the woods. I don't know. It's not like you hang out with people in town anyway. You're always by yourselves. So, yeah, first part, guilty pleasure, delightful. Second part, just agonizing. Honestly, agonizing. And then the third part kind of surprised me, because I knew, you know, the action would ramp up here. We introduced the evil vampires, and they go on a bit of a chase. But I actually found this third half to be extremely dull and boring and way too long. Of course, they play a game of vampire baseball, listen to some Muse, and, you know, they're playing so loudly that it attracts a group of evil vampires. Well, really, two of them are evil. One of the guys is just chill. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The bad guys show up, they're like, "Hey, we heard you're playing vampire baseball. Can we play?" And then James, who's, like, the main bad guy, notices that Bella is a human, and he's like, oh my god, we gotta eat her. And the Cullens are like, "Bella, we gotta go all the way to Phoenix. He's gonna hunt you to the ends of the earth. We're just gonna hide you and then try to track him down and kill him." There's no more setup to the conflict than that. That's literally it. And actually, the fact that this conflict even starts is really embarrassing, because before they play vampire baseball, Alice, who is the Cullen who can see into the future, it's a bit limited, but she can see it, she lets everyone know. It's like, "Hey, there are some evil vampires in the area. We gotta watch out." And then Edward's like, "Okay, Bella, I'm gonna protect you. Like, don't even think about the evil vampires. We'll never have a problem with them, because I will be watching your back the whole time." Then why invite her to vampire baseball? Like, obviously evil vampires can hear vampire baseball. It's so loud. Anyway, James is having a hard time finding Bella, so he goes to her mom's house and, like, he's like a video editor for some reason. He, like, pieces together a bunch of home movies of Bella's mom and, like, makes a fake telephone call for her to, like, sound like she's in danger. He's an evil vampire. Why doesn't he just get Bella's mom anyway? Like, what's with this whole, like, I'm an AV guy? Like, what? So he lures Bella to this dance studio where he, you know, tries to kill her. He bites her. She passes out. The Cullens come in, save the day. This is really very anticlimactic stuff. But, like, this whole section is so dull. Like, they're taking Bella from place to place, just, like, hiding out with her. And there's really nothing to it, man. Like, they try to develop Alice and Jasper to the Cullens a bit more. We actually learned that James is also the vampire who killed the person who turned Alice into a vampire, which doesn't really have anything to do with the story. but that's just, oh, what a twist, oh my god, this guy. But James is such like a nothing, like literally, he's just bad, and that's his entire reason for anything. Edward sucks the venom out of Bella, and they're all fine and dandy, and Bella wants to become a vampire. Edward does not want to turn her. That's sort of set up for conflicts for the rest of the series. And yeah, that is Twilight. The frustrating thing about it is that while the execution is pretty bad, I actually think that this world Stephanie has created here has some redeeming qualities. It actually has the seeds of some pretty good stuff. Stuff that she doesn't capitalize on very well, but still things that make me appreciate things a bit. I sort of like this world she's created. This, creepy small town. These vampires live in there. A human falls in love with one. We have these different factions of vampires who have different beliefs. I like how, all of the Cullens all have, different things that they do, and each of these vampires can have different abilities. I really don't mind the sparkle stuff. I mean, yeah, it's very goofy, but I don't care. I think them being vegetarians is a cool concept that works. I love Charlie, Bella's dad, who is easily the best character and honestly kind of funny, because he's the police chief. He's absolutely oblivious to what's going on with the vampires, and I don't know, he's just kind of cute. He's adorable. Love him. All of the pieces are here. And I do think that Stephenie Meyer, had a vision. And, whether or not that vision came to life here, I don't know. It didn't really work for me, but you know what? It is what it is, I would say. But interestingly enough, probably my biggest takeaway from reading Twilight was a newfound appreciation for the movie. Because while this thing I would not call a good movie, it's so much better than the book. Actually, shockingly so. And that they did not have a lot to work with here. In fact, I think one of the reasons why the movie is so much better is because they did have to cut stuff, so they end up cutting out a lot of the bloat and pointless scenes that just make things worse. Like in the movie, they don't know about the evil vampires until the baseball game, because, knowing about them earlier, like I've talked about, sort of makes things just seem weird. Alternatively, in the movie, when, Jacob starts planting the ideas in her head that the Cullens might be vampires, it is far more subtle. To the point where when she starts doing research on her own, it sort of feels like she has figured it out on her own. In the book, Jacob just comes up to her, he's like, hey, yo, the Cullens are vampires and we are werewolves. That's paraphrasing a bit, but it does not leave very much to the imagination. And even the climax with, James, it does feel a bit more intense, a bit more exciting. There's still not much going on here, but it is definitely a vast improvement. And I just think the movie is delightful. I mean, the actors, again, they're not given much, but they do their best. There are some very iconic shots and moments and dialogue that they just all come across better in this film. And while shocker, I'm not really going to recommend the book here. I think if you are looking for a fun time, the Twilight movies, man. Seriously, check them out. So what's next? I think we're going to finish it. I do believe that our book club fully intends to read all of the Twilight books, and so in the coming months you may see my thoughts on more of them. I doubt I'll make a full video like this, maybe on the end, because Breaking Dawn. But yeah, I am interested to see if Stephenie Meyer improves at all. I'm not expecting these books to suddenly become good, but I am hoping they, at least, reach more of the level of quality of the movies. Because, those are a riot. I would love to be enjoying these books more. Also, a while ago, they announced that they were rebooting Twilight, which I thought was, just a horrible idea. What was the purpose? Though we found out recently it's actually going to be turned into an animated series, which is insane, but I'm absolutely here for it. I just really hope that, this story is a bit more fully realized there. Because, like I said, there is some decent, elements of Twilight that just don't really come together, so I'd really like this new series to be a bit more of a reimagining. That being said, I can hardly see how they would make it more iconic than the films. So yeah, there we go. Thank you so much for watching. Leave me your thoughts on anything Twilight in the comments down below. Did you grow up with these books? Did you get into them later? Did you watch that ContraPoints video that came out? When she posted that, I was like, oh great, Twilight's gonna be popular again. Perfect timing for me making a video. Anyway, I will see you next time. We're going to be doing a spring TBR video, and I also have a few more videos to come out quickly afterwards. So hang on tight, Spider Monkeys, because things have only just begun.